I'm Sherilyn Skolnicki, and this is Brilliant Balance, the show for working women who are ready to shine. Each week, I bring you ideas, inspiration, and insight on balance, business, and getting it all done gracefully. You ready? Let's be brilliant. This is episode 254 of the Brilliant Balance podcast. Endless summer. We're talking about building a life that you don't need a vacation from. So welcome back to the show. I am so glad. Every time I sit down to record one of these, I think about you sitting out there. Maybe you're in your car. Maybe you are getting ready for your day. Maybe you're in a drop-off or a pickup line with your children. Maybe you're commuting. Maybe you are just taking some time for yourself on a walk and pop those AirPods in and are listening to me. And it's so gratifying because I do that with lots of other people's podcasts. It's one of my favorite mediums. I just love finding a conversation that I can step into and learn something new, change my thinking a little bit. And it is really sometimes hard to remember that I also do that from the other side of the microphone. So I'm glad that you are with me today. I wanted to riff a little bit today on summer. And I think I'm feeling a little nostalgic about summer this year, maybe more so than normal. And I say that with full realization that as I record this, we are still technically in summer and will be for a good long while. It just always feels like as school starts that summer comes to an end. And I think also certainly by Labor Day, right? When we're sort of at that unofficial end of summer, that we really start to feel like it's over. And that can be a little unnerving if you've had a good summer, if you've been in a rhythm that you've really enjoyed. So as this airs and we will have just wrapped up Labor Day weekend, I thought it would be good timing to talk about this idea that I've been toying with for a number of years. I remember talking about it with a woman while I was on vacation. And she went on to become a client and really took this particular sentiment to heart. And it was this idea of what would it look like to build a life that you don't need a vacation from? I think if you think about the very best things about summer, and these will be a little bit different for all of us. For me, when I reflect back on this summer, it was the idea of a slow morning, where we didn't have to get everyone up and out of the house and sort of hit that mark, with the bus schedules or the start of school and carpool. And that gave me this opportunity to sort of flip a few things in their normal schedule into a different rhythm. And so those slower mornings are something that I really enjoyed this summer. And it gave me a chance sometimes to come back from a walk and sit down with a notebook and my coffee on our, back patio and sort of listen to the birds and take in those early morning sounds. And that time outdoors, we had so much time outside during the summer. And I don't even know if it was as hot as it usually is. Maybe it was hotter, but this year I felt like we just got a lot of time outside. It's so natural for us to crave that, right? To want to have that time outside. I had multiple opportunities to see extended family and to be with those people in that state of, I think of it as carefree timelessness. I got that phrase from Matthew Kelly years ago and it stuck. Carefree timelessness, where we just don't feel rushed. We have this ability to drop in and just kind of be in the moment that we're in. We spent a week in Seaside at the beach in Florida with my parents and my kids. And that, the time there was it's like time there kind of stands still anyhow, if you've ever been to that part of the world. And I think back on that, the rhythm of like riding bikes around to get from place to place and, not drying your hair and just sort of letting it do its thing and, no makeup or less makeup. There's just a rhythm to summer that I think we sort of crave, but we don't always unpack and really look at what are the elements that make it such a special time of year. So if we can do that, if we can get a little nerdy about this and diagnose, right, what makes a summer so great, and maybe specifically what makes a vacation so great, then I think it's possible to carry some of that with us into the rest of the year. So we're really building a life that feels more like our favorite rhythm. Okay, so that's what I want to riff on a little bit today is maybe let's think about, why do we want a vacation? And again, your memories will be different than mine, and that's exactly as it should be. But I bet there are some commonalities. And I asked a few of our clients about this. It turns out there are. So some of the common themes I heard were, there's this chance to be off the clock. Like, one, we're sleeping in, right? We get more sleep. And it tends to come on vacation that maybe bedtime ends up being a little bit earlier, but it's really that morning that doesn't have the alarm. It's less hurried. Again, we're sort of wandering out, with our coffee in our hands, and letting the morning unfold rather than like sprinting into it, right? So the concept of more sleep is, I think, part and parcel of a good vacation. Fewer appointments. We don't have really often any appointments. It depends on how you vacation. Maybe you have, we're going to snorkel at this time, or we're taking a tour of a museum at a particular time. But for the most part, there's less structure. So there's, we're not going to the dentist or the eye doctor or getting a mammogram while we're on vacation. All things that are on my calendar, right, in the next week or two. We don't have work meetings. So we don't have that rhythm in a week where it feels like we have to hit the mark over and over and over again and just be where we're expected to be. And our kids don't have that either. We're not dropping off and picking up and managing homework and trying to get them to the places that they need to be. So I think that's one of those threads or themes that we want to look at is on vacation, we don't have as many appointments. Things aren't as time-stamped. Another one that came up a lot is we get a change of scenery. There's new experiences, there's new adventures, there's kind of a new environment around us when we are on vacation. And that is really important and something that I'm going to come back to in a minute, because I think that one in particular we can really play with. But being in a new place kind of wakes up a part of our brain that might be dormant in our day-to-day routine. And then the last thing that came up a lot was it's time with our people. Right? So whether that's your spouse or your partner, whether it's your parents or your siblings or extended family, the cousins, come up a lot, or whether it's you and your children, that time to be with your people doing things together is a big part of what makes vacation so special. So when we step away from that and we come back into our lives, it's like we're little ants that scatter in 1,000 directions, right? We're all kind of running in our own circles. There's a lot of routine. It's kind of the opposite, right, of what I just described. There's a lot of appointments, a lot of places we have to be and times we have to be there. And typically we get less sleep, right? We're shortening our amount of sleep so that we can expand our waking hours to fit all this stuff in. And even as I say that, and I can hear it in my voice as I say it, it starts to feel a little heavy, right? It feels like there's a lot. It can get overwhelming when we come out of that rhythm and back into what we have deemed everyday life. And what I want us to remember today in this conversation is that we are making a series of choices that are creating that overstacked everyday life, right? Some more than others, but we are all making a set of choices in our own household. And sometimes those choices are creating this pressure. So what if you could build a little bit of that vacation rhythm into your everyday life? Instead of feeling like I got to survive this whole year just to get to this one good week, right? Or maybe you get a good week at the holidays, or maybe you take a spring break, but maximum, you're probably taking a few of these a year. And is that really enough when we consider it out of our whole life? So I think it takes creativity, right? I think it may require some trade-offs, but I do think it's doable. And I was thinking about this lovely woman, Amy, who I had spoken with on during my vacation a number of years ago. And sometimes on vacation, because it feels good to me, I take a couple of calls early in the morning, and then I kind of go on about the rest of my day. And it works for my nervous system, right? To know that I got a couple things handled, and then to be able to really settle into time with my family. So I was talking to Amy, and we were in Michigan that year on vacation. And I remember it like it was yesterday, because in the call I was having with her, she was describing how life was so busy, hectic, overwhelming. She had two young children and a big full-time job at a university. And she was saying, what I love every year is we go to Disney World and we have this wonderful time together in Disney. And I just live for that week. And I think it might have been the first time that phrase came out of my mouth. Well, what would it look like if we built a life that you didn't have to take a vacation from, where more of your everyday life felt like that? What would that be? And one of the things I remember her saying is, well, I would put a pool in, and then our family could just be in the pool in the evenings and we could have that leisure time together and just kind of relax and laugh after dinner. But it would be right there, right? We wouldn't have to travel to have that experience and then have it end. And I got the chance to work with Amy in coaching. And so over the course of that year, she really built out the plan for what that might look like. And I have to tell you, of course, the punchline of the story is that she did in fact do that. And I got this wonderful letter from her saying, hey, I am out here in the pool with my kids on this late summer, early fall evening, and they are laughing and jumping in the pool. And we just took burgers off the grill. And I looked at my husband and I was like, we did it. We did the thing that we said we were going to do. We built this life that has a little bit of that rhythm baked into our everyday. Not only did we build the pool, but we adjusted our schedules and the way we think about our time together. And it just feels amazing. Do you ever find yourself saying, I just need a minute to breathe? While the whole idea of meditation can sound totally intimidating, I've found that stepping away from the chaos of life, even just for a few minutes, is incredibly restorative. So if you're short on time, but could use a few moments of peace right about now, listen to my 5-minute meditation for working moms. It'll help you clear your head and come back to your day feeling centered and refreshed. Head over to brilliant-balance.com/breathe. Press play and settle in for a few mini moments of peace right now. So, if you can use that as inspiration today for your own journey, and it does not mean you have to build a pool, although my husband would love it if we did, what could you do to bring a little bit of that vacation vibe or summer energy into every day? I have a couple of ideas for you to think about. And again, so important when you listen to my podcast or others that you make this your own, that you just use these as a jumping off point, but you really give yourself a chance to think a little bit about what is it for you. But a couple things I would think about is, what would it look like to engineer more sleep into your day? What would it be like if you woke up every day without needing an alarm and you felt rested and you could ease into that day with your eyes are already wide open? You're not stumbling into the bathroom trying to get your eyes cranked open and not wanting to turn on the light, but you sort of wake up and think, okay, I'm ready to go. Whatever time that is, whether that's 5 a.m. or 7 a.m. or 9 a.m. Could you engineer such that you could have enough sleep by the time it was time to wake up? And depending on what your life looks like, who's living with you in your household, 5 a.m. may be all that's realistic, or you might be able to sleep later. So right now at this time in my house, I'm getting up at about 5:30. That's what it's taking. But there have been chapters where it was later than that, and candidly chapters where it was earlier. So I think that's something that you can steer toward. And of course, in order to wake up feeling like that, what's the secret sauce? It's really all about bedtime. And how do we get the waking hours to fit into a container such that you have enough hours left over for sleep? And that is a subject for another day, but very important. Another one to think about is, we mentioned there's fewer appointments during a vacation vibe. So what does it look like to have fewer appointments in your week? What would have to be true for you to edit the activities that you're involved in, that your family is involved in, the things you say yes to, such that you have enough appointments where it feels good, right? It feels fulfilling. You feel like you've got some juice and some stuff to do, but where it doesn't feel overwhelming, where you're not getting up in the morning and looking at that calendar and thinking, how am I ever going to do this? How am I ever going to get all these people to all these places? And perform in all of these meetings and still have my sanity, right? And there are ways to do that. But that would be something that would help kind of continue that vacation vibe, is fewer appointments throughout the day. This is the one I mentioned earlier, and I want to spend a little bit of time on it because I think it might be the easiest, and that is to mix things up, right? One of the things we love about vacation is that we're doing things with our people. And one of the things that we love about vacation is that we're doing things that are out of the ordinary. We are doing them with our people, but we're doing them in a way that's kind of out of the ordinary, right? We're seeing, I was going to say topography, and that was really nerdy. So scenery, right? That we don't see every day. Like we're at the beach. I don't live at the beach. So waking up and seeing the ocean and walking on sand is novel, right? Or maybe you're at a lake, or maybe you're in a city, like where something is not your norm. Even things like you're in a different coffee shop, you've tried a different restaurant, you got ice cream at that place that you had never heard of before, and it was amazing. The good news is those things are right in your hometown, right? There are opportunities to mix things up and kind of get that novelty right where you live. And it could look like going to a different grocery store than you normally do, right? Different chain, different location of the same chain. Like your brain has to adjust to all of that newness. Could look like going to a different coffee shop. Instead of swinging through Starbucks and drive through, like ordering your same standard order, maybe you find that local shop and you try something different. And it's an entirely different experience. It feels a little bit vacation-like. Could be a different restaurant than you typically go to. I also think there are so many activities happening right in our cities, right in our home cities, that we just sort of let go past us. But if we were on vacation, we would be doing those things. So looking around for like, what's the show? What's the museum exhibit? What's the sporting event? What's the concert that's happening right in your home city that you can take advantage of, but in a way that you might have lived there 20 years and never have been to that experience. Okay. That's a really probably easy one and really fun one. And then I got ahead of myself a minute ago and tried to go to this one, which is we synchronize our schedules during vacation, right? We spend more time with our people. And I think that we almost have this backwards. In the name of efficiency, in our day-to-day life, there's a lot of divide and conquer. I look at our household, it's very often, John, will you take this kid in that direction? And I'm going to take this kid in this other direction, right? Or everybody is sort of running their own programming. I talked about this in our technology episode where, the devices allow us to have personalized entertainment. And then that just sort of carries itself over into, you might have 5 people living in your house like I do, but you can be living pretty separate lives. So actively looking for opportunities for overlap is an interesting flip here, right? So do you choose to do things together now and then throughout the week in the same way that you would on vacation? And I understand that depending on the ages of your kids, they might fight this. I have 3 teens and tweens, and it is not always everybody's favorite idea to spend time with their family. But I will tell you, when we do it, it's always gratifying. So this might be a place where you need to strongly suggest / insist that a couple times during the week, we're going to do things together, right? And again, if this is just you and your partner, you and your spouse, you and your best friend, your roommate, like the opportunity to do things that are synchronized where you're working on it together brings back that vacation vibe. And that's really what we're looking for, is how do we have less binge watching, less mindless scrolling, less overworking, right? Where the whole evening is about, I got to catch up on work, and less overscheduling where our days are so packed that we don't have room for any of this good stuff, right? And it does work a little bit like a house of cards. If you're overscheduled during your day, then you're probably going to be overworking because that overflow has to have somewhere to go. And if you're overworking and you're overscheduled, there's probably less time together, less interest or like brain space for those novel experiences. And so we want to numb out and we get back into the mindless scrolling. We're back into the binge watching, which then impedes our sleep. So now we're not waking. This vicious cycle. Okay. That cycle is breakable. It's absolutely possible to get out of it. We do it every day with women inside of coaching in Brilliant Balance. And it's not always easy to see how to do it on your own. So I'll just say this, if you want to talk about it, if it's something where you're like, this is so me, and I got to figure out how to break this cycle, go to brilliant-balance.com. I think it's /schedule. There's also a link right on the homepage, and it'll take you to a scheduling link. We can have a one-on-one conversation and just talk about what is challenging you, right? What's in your way? And is it possible that with some coaching and support, you could get your life into a better rhythm? And you could be the one saying, I did it. I built a life that I love so much that I don't actually feel like I'm living for my vacation every year. Vacation is like the cherry on top instead of I'm just dragging myself to try to get there. Would love to have that conversation with you. If you're interested, again, it's brilliant-balance.com /schedule. Go try some of these things. I want to hear from you on Instagram or Facebook. You can DM me there and let me know what you're thinking. I'm at @cschoolnikki or brilliant_balance. And that is all for today, my friends. Till next time, let's be brilliant.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.